my family, we used to go to Washington, D.C. every spring break. And I remember one year we had a flat tire on our way there, and I can remember so clearly. My father was pretty surprised, devastated, unhappy. My mom, too. I was the first one out of the car, I think. I think I was actually leading the family in getting the spare tire changed. And why was that? Or why did I do that? Or what made me know how to do that or think I knew how to do that? So grew up on 7th Street. The house is on the corner of Potter and 7th, where my mother and father moved shortly after I was born. So I've always, worked, and whether it was babysitting. And as soon as I turned 16, I got a job right away that first summer. And, after that, I got a job at Bill Knapp's. I managed a restaurant at Bill Knapp's when I was I don't know, what was I, 18, 19 years old. But I did leave Bill Knapp's because I was driving to Battle Creek and I really wanted to work in Ann Arbor. I wanted to have a job where I was living. I left there, did some consulting work for a little bit, and then landed my best job. I just loved that job, being at Borders. And then, of course, they had hard times, and I was the senior vice president at that. I was number 5 in the company. And ultimately, for all of us that live here in Ann Arbor, know that Borders bookstore went bankrupt, and I was probably one of the first people to get the your job no longer exists, nor is your name associated with any other position. Would you like to see the paperwork? And then I was on several boards. I think I was on 5 nonprofit boards. So my whole life, when I was in my younger days, and seeing my uncle always at various holidays and birthdays and things like that, we would always talk about the Washtenaw Dairy. How's it going at the dairy? And of course, if I had been downtown and I was walking home, I would go by the dairy, and for 25 cents I could get an ice cream cone. And so I would stop there once in a while, not a lot, but sometimes. When I think about my Uncle Doug, so he was the one that worked in the Washtenaw Dairy for all these many, many, many years. Started working when he was 14 years old. But I was not involved at the dairy at all. And then I was, looking after my uncle. He had cancer 5 times. He beat it 4 times. And spent a lot of time with my uncle and got to know more about what was going on in the business. And they had 2 very strong managers at the dairy at the time who had worked there 30 years each from a very young age, but neither of them wanted to take over the ownership of the business. So that left my uncle with the whole business at age close to 90, 89, 90. And he could not, no way could he, handle the stress and the strain that was needed to fully run that business. I was very close to my uncle. I had worked in all these food service businesses. I'd worked, all these retail businesses. I'd worked all these small businesses. I'd been just doing all this stuff pretty much my whole life. So everything that I needed to know to run Washtenaw Dairy, I knew, but I didn't know it in the context of that business. And so then my uncle and I were going to run it together, which I thought would be really, really fun. And then just a couple months after that, he passed away. So that didn't work out exactly that way. But I like to say, there's a saying about last man standing. Well, in this case, last man standing is a woman. The word believe, is, well, I have certain words that really are important to me, but believe is one of them. And we put that on the top of the Washtenaw Dairy at holiday time one year. And I saw it, in a catalog. It was a yard sign, it was big. And I asked my handyman if he could figure out a way to put it up on the roof and make sure it didn't fly off, and maybe put a floodlight on it so people could see it. So then people ask me, well, what's that mean? What does that mean? I said, well, I believe in the goodness of people, believe in kindness, believe in things working out, believe that, hard work will, count for something. believe whatever it is that you believe and believe it.